Hey guys, it's Rollcubs and boy do I have one for you. We're going to look at the quickest leveling build for Sorcerer between level 1 and 50. I won't be covering the end game in this build as that's a whole nother kettle of fish, but this is the build I'll be pushing for with World First. Now, I've had the benefit to play some alphas, betas and the server slam same as all of you. I've leveled over 20 Sorcerer to level 20 plus, but I've leveled 2 Sorcerer to level 80 plus. This means I can bring some full gossip on the best Sorcerer leveling abilities, builds, and even a secret endgame build that people haven't really figured out, which has over 300,000% damage a second, naked. But for now, I'm going to show you the optimal leveling build. It's really important that we remember you can respec for free until level 15, because we'll be taking advantage of that massively. Now, if you like what you see, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are still running the giveaway to subscribers, 3 copies of Diablo 3 Ultimate Edition or £100 Battle.net balance, your choice. All you've got to do is be subscribed, leave a comment with the character you're most excited to play, and the winner will be announced on the 1st. So, it's worth saying I'm looking at this from a hardcore player's perspective. I have worked with this build to make sure that I'm tanky enough while still doing ridiculous amounts of damage. I do have the numbers breakdown at the end and halfway through, including a lucky hit chance and some breakpoints, so stay tuned. Now, what's the most broken ability in the game? Arclash. I'm glad we agree. So, we are very lucky to be able to start with this. It's the hardest hitting core ability that we get, and it also multi-hits everything in front of us in, you guessed it, an arc. It gives an insane amount of movement speed, and we could not ask for a better start. We're going to put 1 point into it, and 1 point into Enhanced Arclash as well. We have a 5% crit chance, meaning about 1 in every 20 hits will do a double hit. It's nice, but we don't count on it. Now, we drop down and take Charge Bolts. The reason that this is a really good ability is because the first 2 bosses are fat. Literally, big chunks. And this is because you can stand under them, use Charge Bolts, and every single hit will do 140% weapon damage because you'll hit them with all 5 bolts at the same time. Just make sure you use potions on hardcore. Now, we dash back up and we grab Flickering Arclash. Very nice ability because it gives us an 18% movement speed for 5 seconds if we've hit 3 enemies. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to hit level 7. Just before we can unlock our defensives, you need to put 2 more points in. So we're going to put Arclash up to level 2 and level 3. At this point here, you've got some choices. You can either take like the Teleport, Flame Shield, Frost Nova. We like to take 3 of them. We like to take Teleport. This here will allow you to get yourself out of trouble, or in my case, into trouble. Flame Shield, which is your cheat death, and Ice Armor. Now, we can't really reduce the times at the moment, so I advise you use Ice Armor on packs that they're really hurting. As I said, Flame Shield you get out of emergency dodge and teleport wisely. So, at this point here, you're level 10, we chuck 3 points into Glass Cannon, and as we've moved forward, we've got 2 points left. Personally here, it's a difficult one. I like to put it back into Arclash to just top off the damage, because Arclash will be your main point of damage here. Finally, you're level 15. Okay? One thing to remember is you've taken Glass Cannon, you are playing on hardcore. Glass Cannon makes you deal 18% more damage, but take 9% more damage. You can die because of that. Don't be silly. Now, at level 15, you're going to pick up your Sorcerer quest, and with this build, you're going to run and unlock enchantments. As soon as you've unlocked them, you should still be level 15, and this is where the free respec comes into play. You can click, reset, and totally reset your character for free. If you've hit level 16, it is still quite cheap in the first couple of levels, so don't worry too much about it. Now, you have your first choice to make here. If you're playing hardcore, I would recommend going for Frostbolt, Enhanced Frostbolt, and Glinting Frostbolt. The reason I would recommend going with these is means you can keep your distance on bosses and still be able to generate yourself some mana, which you'll see why very shortly. Your other choice is if you want to stay very close up, is you can go for Arclash, Enhanced Arclash, and Flickering Arclash, but only putting 1 point into it. This will be mainly used as the left click as you run, to be allowed to keep yourself at 18% movement speed. Personally, I didn't feel it was needed, and on overkill, it was overkill really. On veteran, the damage wasn't needed of Arclash, you'll see why very shortly. But, moving forward, you're going to drop 1 point into Ice Shards. From there, we do take enhanced ice shards, and then we take greater ice shards. I'm going to explain why we take this here now. So ice shards does 125% of your damage when cast. The damage is increased by a 25% multiplier if the targets are frozen, so that falls into our frozen damage bucket. We take the enhanced because that means you have a 40% chance to ricochet. However, if you have the targets frozen, this is a 100% chance to ricochet. We take greater because if you have a barrier active, ice shards treat the enemy as if they're frozen, which means they ricochet, which means they do 25% more damage. It has perfect synergy and you can see why we run it. Now, we jump down and at this time we're going to grab all 4 of your defensive capabilities. Doing Teleport, Flame Shield, Ice Arm and Frost Nova, but we only upgrade Frost Nova. We give the Enhanced, which will allow you to reduce cooldown every time you kill an enemy affected by Frost Nova up to 4 seconds. And additionally to that, you'll be able to then put on Mystical Frost Nova. Mystical will make all enemies vulnerable for 4 seconds, but more importantly it will make bosses vulnerable for 6 seconds. So, as we're going down through it, the vulnerable will give you a 20% multiplier to your damage, which is a separate multiplier than the frozen one that we were just talking about, and all the buckets you'll see add up very nicely. So the way it's going to work is you're going to use Frost Nova to freeze a pack. Ice shards will ricochet from them all with higher damage and nuke the pack. If we don't have Frost Nova up, we'll still need it to ricochet, so we take 1 point into Align the Elements, and we take 1 point into Protection. This means when we use any of our 4 defensive cooldowns, we will get a 10% barrier of your maximum life for 2 seconds. Which means you can say pop Teleport, use Ice Shards, they will ricochet, kill everything. Now, it's worth mentioning that whilst you're in Fractured Peaks, you're going to unlock some amazing aspects which we're going to discuss. But first and foremost, we're level 15. You've unlocked enchantments. In here, as you can see, I've already got it nice and set up for you, and that means we're going to be using the Ice Shard enchantments. This means anytime you freeze an enemy, Ice Shards will automatically fly towards that enemy, and if they were frozen, it will also do more damage and ricochet. You've seen how this goes. So we don't even have to cast on mobs. We just run through, freeze, they die. If we don't have Frost Nova, then yeah, we run through, make sure we have a barrier up, hit the biggest target, and watch everything around him die. As I've said, we're in Fractured Peaks, we can unlock 3 amazing aspects, and we're going to start with the Eluding aspect. The Eluding aspect drops from Caldara Gate and causes you to become unstoppable whilst injured in crowd control. It means you can pop a potion, teleport out, use one of your other abilities. It's a true lifesaver. Aspect of the Protector that we're going to put on legs drops from the Lost Archives, and you have to do Lost Archives as part of the campaign to unlock aspects. It's one of the most underrated defensives, and what it'll do is anytime you damage an elite, it will give you a shield. The shield counts as a barrier, the barrier works with Ice Shards, we've explained it. And finally you can get Piercing Cold. Now Piercing Cold, we put this on our ring and it drops from Dead Man's Dredge. It's worth noting Piercing Cold only ricochets if all of the pierces hit the target, meaning you don't want to put this on your amulet or weapon. Yeah, pierce, insane damage on fat enemies, so if it's Diablo 3 style packs, you put it on your weapon and 7 pierces on staff, and then you'll be able to launch through, hit everything and ricochet, and the damage numbers are insane. But realistically, what's the chances you're going to be able to pierce 7 times? You're not. Keep it on your ring, that's a 3, as soon as they hit there 3 times, which a lot of big enemies you can hit 3 times with the 1 bullet anyway, and then it'll start ricocheting. But let's get back to the points. As I play on hardcore, I personally like to max out protection. It'll increase your shield from 10% on cooldown to 30% on cooldown, and especially because my points after that is I put 3 points in Glass Cannon. We've discussed Glass Cannon, 9% increased damage, you'll want something to mitigate that. You're then going to max out your Ice Shards, so just there you've got 18% increased damage from Glass Cannon and a 50% increased damage on Ice Shards to take it from 125% per cast to 175% per cast, and this will take you to level 24. Now, I found out at level 24 I was dominating enemies. Even on veteran, elite packs were dying immediately. I never really took any damage, and because of this I thought I wanted to push more damage for bosses, and I didn't need to push any more survivability yet. So we're going to drop straight down and put 1 point into Permafrost for 5% elite damage. We don't do this for the elite damage. We do this to unlock Hoarfrost, the single most broken the skill we have as a Frost sorcerer. It will increase your chill damage by 9% and your frozen damage by 18%. Something you all need to know, frozen enemies count as chilled as well. And it double dips, meaning if the target is frozen, you don't get 18%, you get 18% plus the chill percent, so you get 27% damage. To confirm that, I'll leave the link in the description to the Wowhead document proving it. Now this means the 3 points will give you a 27 times percentage multiplier. And what about bosses? Oh yeah, if you've got a barrier active, it counts as them being frozen. So your ice shards will then still do 27% more damage. For the final 2 points to get you to level 30, I personally like to put it into Enhanced Teleport to reduce its cooldown because I like to kamikaze in, but more importantly I like Shimmering Teleport. 30% damage reduction after 5 seconds is a lifesaver at times. So, at this point here, you should be level 30 and have completed Fractured Peaks. If you've not completed Fractured Peaks at this point, you've got bigger issues. So, at this point here, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to have Renown level 1 and 3 unlocked. So what is Renown? Well, Renown is the reputation of Swords of Diablo 4. You'll be able to have 5 ranks of it. Only the first 3 are available before you complete the campaign. But if you get to rank 1 and rank 3, then you will unlock 2 more skill points. There's 5 zones, so that's 10 more skill points in total. I'm going to spend 2 of them now, and the other 8 I will discuss at the very end. So, for these 2 points that we're going to do, we're going to drop Flame Shield. We don't need it anymore. You'll have seen you'll have barely hit it anyway. And we're going to put a point in Ice Blades, Enhanced Ice Blades, and Summoned Ice Blades. Ice Blades were nerfed. And everyone's saying, don't use them, they're terrible. You're using them for the wrong reason. Yes, Ice Blades as a cooldown reduction isn't a thing anymore. But not really. We'll discuss it a little bit, but it's not massive. But they have a 71% lucky hit chance. And there's 2 of them! It's that insane. So it summons 2 blades, they swing at a speed of 1 attack per second. When they're swinging, they're going to have a 30% chance baseline to lucky hit to make the target vulnerable for 2 seconds. Thanks to Enhanced Ice Blades, when they hit the vulnerable enemy, their cooldown is reduced by 0.5 seconds, but there's 2 of them, so that means every second you're going to reduce its cooldown by 1 second. They are active for 6 seconds, and will give themselves a 6-second reduction. That means their effective uptime is about 12 out of every 16 seconds, an effective downtime of 4 seconds, giving them about a 75% uptime. Now, 20% of that cooldown reduction, as I've said we will talk about a little bit, is then put onto your other abilities. Because of the uptime, it's going to work about a 12% cooldown reduction for your other abilities. I'm not going to bore you with the math. But that isn't the reason we use them, as I've said. We've hit level 30. And what does that mean? As we've hit level 30, we get to use a second enchantment. And we are going to choose Frost Nova. Now, Frost Nova has a 30% chance lucky hit for all conjuration skills to unleash a full Frost Nova when hitting enemies. This Frost Nova counts towards the enhanced cooldown. And that's why we don't put points in to reduce the cooldown, because enhanced will keep it reduced anyway. It will additionally proc Mystical, which will cause all enemies to become vulnerable. Don't forget, these vulnerable will then reduce the cooldown of your Ice Blades. The Frost Novas also cause Ice Shards to freely cast towards the enemies without having to press any buttons other than blades, thanks to your other enchantment. But let's look at the numbers. So, as you can see on the screen here now, we are level 30. Our Frost Nova enchantment lucky hit chance is 21.3% chance per blade. So we times that by the 30% proc ratio of the 71% chance of Ice Blades to give the number, but there is 2 blades. That means overall we will have a proc per second of 43%. Let's look at damage. Most classes around this point manage to build up damage of about 1 to 2,000 weapon damage. This build, counting in the damage buckets from the 18% Glass Cannon, 12% Crit from Emerald, 9% Chilled, 18% Frozen from Hoarfrost, 25% Frozen from Ice Shards, and 5% Elite damage from Permafrost, does an average of 5,898 weapon percent damage per second of a group of 4 enemies. That is insane. And that's screen wide. It'll be active per second on a group of 4 enemies. If there's 10 enemies, the damage doesn't fall off, doing 14,746% damage. Oh, and the best part? That's only working on 1 pierce. So you're going to walk around, use your cooldowns to keep up your protection's 30% barrier, use ice plates to keep the cooldowns up at all times. This has caused enemies to be counted as frozen. Ice blades will freeze enemies, you'll do vulnerable damage to them, you'll auto machine gun mobs down, your 30% damage reduction is there from teleport, your auto barrier is there against elite from aspect, your emergency CC break is there from your aspect, you have insane damage, insane survivability, and you're only level 30. So there you have it. That is the best way to level from level 1 to 30 as a sorcerer. You will dominate the damage, nobody will keep up. I mean, how many of the classes can pull out 6,000% damage a second? It's absolutely insane. Before having to drop any lucky legendaries, before uniques, which you can't get till World Tier 3, you've got this. So if you like what you see, don't hesitate to like and subscribe, as it really does help out the channel. And until next time, Curbs, you know it.